To Morning Express. Now let's set the ball rolling on the program this morning. We're being joined virtually by Petro Desmond Olariwaju, who is the president of the Nigerian Nexus, a patriotic Nigerian as well as a public affairs analyst. Hello and a very good morning to you. Good morning to you, Petro. It's wonderful to have you join us on the program. Hello, can you hear me? Well, it appears
Hello,
we are
good
having.
morning.
Well, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. It's wonderful to have you on Morning Express today.
Good morning. This is Honorable Cletus Obun.
Oh, Honorable, thank you so much for joining. I'm really sincerely sorry. I must have mixed up the information here. But very quickly, let's move on to the 2025 appropriation bill that was presented to the National Assembly, the joint session of the National Assembly by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu just recently. Now, this must have been met with a lot of mixed reactions with APC supporters or supporters of the president hailing his decision to bring about such a huge budget going above 20 trillion naira from the 2024 budget, in tandem with what we are seeing now. What was your first reaction when you saw the exact figure contained within the
Right. For me, figures are only relevant to the extent that they are executed and realizable. And because of the precedent that we have, I was not in doubt that he is not a frivolous person who gets involved in hyping and popularity contest with his own pronouncement. So he doesn't make statements in order to get public applause, but because he believes in what he is doing. You can see it in all that he has done in the past 18 months of his existence and 15 months of his ministerial appointment. So I was not surprised at all. I was not surprised. What I was surprised at is his specificity with his media team and with his financial team especially, in which he had to break down to show that of that 47.9 billion, 7 billion, that he will be able to bring out and generate revenue to the tune of 34.4 trillion of that money. Of the 47 trillion, he can generate over 34 trillion. And that the rest will be funded by loans. About 15.81 trillion will be funded from loans. So if you put that together, you discover that he has even produced and gone above the expectation of Nigerians. Before today, funding of budget and generation of revenue has been a problem. The statistics available to Nigerians today will show that the revenue inflows for the country has geometrically increased to the point that you are no longer having to bail out states. States are no longer owing salaries. In the past 10 years, you find a situation where states have to go to borrow to pay salaries, and even the federal government itself goes down to say it's borrowing to pay salaries. That is no longer happening. And I think the finance team, the economic team led by Waledu, and the president himself being an accountant, has combined to give us a double-barrel attack on the economy and an ailing economy at a challenging period like this that is global, given the Ukrainian war, given the energy crisis in Europe and the Americas, even in Canada. You will find that what Nigeria is doing here is something almost magical. So for me, it's a good takeoff, and this is, again, like he said, calls it in Christians, it's a budget of restoration. So we are restoring unto ourselves the past, which had been dogged by constant flip-flops on the economy and juggling of figures, and of course heavy leakages on the finances of the federal government on account of corruption, on account of ineptitude, on account of lack of absence of transparency. So the total digitalization of revenue collection and the expansion of tax net to make collectible taxes transparently gathered for the common use. You now will see that money has been freed to the subnational, that is to the states, to the extent I said no more borrowings and no more salary owing, and most governors are even paying more than the minimum wage that the federal government pegged at 70,000. Some are paying up to 80, some up to 90. So you can see clearly that shows that the federal government is stable. The naira, in spite of the fluctuations that it had, the dual exchange rate, all have been normalized. So you don't no longer know the difference between the black market and the official rate of the naira. Both are just going to see a situation where you have 1,555 and 1,534. The difference being 12 10 naira, unlike before, when you can have the difference of up to 500-700 naira in the exchange rate. The parallel market.
Honorable Cletus, you have been pointing out all the numerous and wonderful works that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been doing since inception of his administration, especially with revenue generation and the rest. Now, on one hand, it is fantastic that the administration of the president is generating a lot of revenue across MDAs. However, critics have pointed out on something very critical and crucial within the budget, which is that the president and the vice president's trips and refreshments in 2025 is set to gulp up 9.4 billion naira. And the president is set to spend 10.6 billion naira on cars, honorarium, fuel, and SA's office. Do you think this large figures are justifiable for the items that they're being earmarked for?
This is what most of the time our hypercritics will come up to say and do. If what you are seeing there is a proposal, the National Assembly is going to go through that. It is after that you now know that is a budget is a proposal of what should happen if this happens. If we generate this amount, this is what we will spend. If we don't generate, that means nothing will be spent. So they're now speaking already as if it is cast in stone. The National Assembly, under the chairmanship of Senator Akpabio as Senate President, will definitely have to take a look at these items, given the inflationary rate, given the realities of the moment, and see what is achievable and what is acceptable, and then announce and approve and appropriate accordingly. So it is not in the job of the president to make the final pronouncement. It takes only the National Assembly to do that. And then this National Assembly has demonstrated that it is not a rubber stamp assembly. Look at the robustness with which the tax reforms are being debated up to today. Now more and more people are beginning to get familiar with it. So also it is with these proposals of cars and all that. If he says I want 10 cars, and National Assembly look at that and say, given our present economic realities.
Well, Honorable, are you still with us there on the line? It appears we are having a little bit of a challenge with Honorable Cletus Obun's connection there.
Desirability of those items that you are listing now. For now, it is a mere proposal, a mere estimate of what is expected. So I don't think we should dwell on that at the moment. But should that even come to pass, if you don't generate that sum, you cannot also get those expendables, those recurrent sum. You cannot expend on what you don't have money for. The intention is, if we generate this is what we will do. So it's not as if they are going to buy that. That is estimate. So that for me is what we should be talking about. Presently, like I said, I'm giving you the reality, the actuals. In fact, what you have in budgeting is what was the proposal, what was the estimate, and what are the actual releases. That is what shows the performance of the budget. It is not what was proposed or what was estimated.
Well, the budget so far has already passed second reading, and a statement made by the Deputy Senate President.
But it's long while.
Exactly.
This is the first time you are getting expendable sum.
Well, a statement by the Deputy Senate President says the 2025 budget will transform Nigeria if fully implemented. Now, you have also cited that the budgets the figure on the budget is not exactly what the National Assembly will approve or put a stamp on. There will certainly be reviews, and if needs be, some cut downs would have to happen. Now, with the DSP's statements about full implementation, do you still think that maybe in some way that there will be some cut down in certain areas, especially gray areas that many persons or experts or analysts might deem it not really necessary to have such large sums being earmarked towards such projects?
The National Assembly, under the leadership of Senator Akpabio, has shown that it has the courage and it is sufficiently very, very alert to its responsibility to respond to Nigeria's yearning. You will discover that several people have been invited to the National Assembly to explain certain things. The electricity tariff, for example, you saw the National Assembly react to it. You also have found a situation in which certain things were brought in, and then the Senate President coming out to say, we will require to have in our hands the very important and very important aspects of the national budget becoming very critical for us. Therefore, I am very certain that at the end of it all, the Nigerian people are going to be happy for it, because there will be no way in which the National Assembly is not going to take responsibility in the budget analysis, and of course doing the needful in terms of bringing together the expertise that is required. And don't forget that the National Assembly is empowered to hire experts in terms of consultancy to deal with it. It is paid for. So I'm not aware of any budget that has just come and limited, because the general impression is about padding and about rubber stamping. This is not what people don't know, because they are not familiar with the workings of Parliament. Everybody in Nigeria believes that Parliament is an opponent of the executive. That is not it. They are complementary, on the contrary. And
Well, Honorable Cletus, if you are still with us, let's just get your last perspective on the 2025 appropriation bill before we move on to other matters, focusing on the FCT and the revocations that have happened here, revocation of land titles that have happened here recently. Out of the 47.9 trillion naira budget, a debt burden of 16 trillion naira hovers above Nigeria. Well, let's hope to get reconnected to Honorable there. But before we reconnect to Honorable, let's pick up the Business Day newspaper and take a look at that headline and story on the front cover of the Business Day. Revisiting the Business Day in line with the 2025 appropriation bill, 16 trillion naira debt burden outstrips security, education, and budgets. 16 trillion naira debt burden outstrips security, education, budgets. Experts fear budget may not deliver tangible gains. Tinubu, Shetima to spend 8.74 billion naira on local and international trips. Now, this is one of the many concerns of Nigerians at this moment, talking about the debt burden on the country, as well as the 13 trillion naira deficit that is also attached to the 47.9 trillion naira budget that has been presented to the National Assembly by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu just recently before he jetted off to Lagos for the Christmas and New Year holidays. Now let's see if we can reconnect with Honorable Cletus Obun on the line and have him react to this topical issue before we cross over to other news. Hello, Honorable, are you with us here now? Well, it appears we're still having a little bit of network connection there. But before we move on to Honorable or to other matters, let's take a look at the Guardian newspaper, where a report has revealed how inflation stole Christmas for many Nigerians in the country. Let's pick up the Guardian newspaper and take a look at that headline and story beneath the masthead. How inflation stole Christmas is the headline you'd find there. Now, this is a big story on news pages 4 and 5. And you'd find possibly a Santa Claus clad in his red and white regalia, dragging along an inflation bag, and all of them, in the bag you'd find rice, salt, beans, spaghetti, oil, and possibly chicken and some yams, with Nigerians or a Nigerian pulling out empty pockets in a state of disarray. Now, elsewhere, Senate passes 2025 budget for second reading, adjourns till January 14th. And Wike revokes lands owned by Buhari, Abbas, Akume, 759 others over debts. More knocks on IOC's divestment approval as Dangote cuts for a prize. And now Tinubu demands probe of Ibadan tragedy. Dogara slams northern leaders for mismanagement, says tax reforms will drive change. And AGF says that no governor can remove local government chairman on the Tinubu's watch. Now, these are the stories found on the front cover of the Guardian newspaper. Let's see if we can reconnect with Honorable Cletus Obun, joining us virtually from Cross River State. Hello, Honorable, are you back on the line? Well, Honorable, if you can hear me, you were lending your thoughts to the budget earlier. Well, let's just hold on for a moment and see if we can reconnect to Honorable Cletus Obun. Hello, Honorable.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the
morning.
program.
Sorry, the network here. The network has been playing games.
That's all right. I just wanted you to react to this comment or headline on the Business Day newspaper, where it says that a 16 trillion naira debt burden has outstripped security, education within the budget. 16 trillion naira debt burden on the back of Nigeria, a 47.9 trillion naira budget, with the president, planning to borrow about 13 trillion naira to fund the budget, and then the other 34 trillion naira thereabout will come about as a means of internally generated revenue. Now, many experts fear that this budget may not really deliver tangible gains for Nigerians. Do you share the same thoughts, or do you have counter reasoning?
No, I don't know where that fear is coming from. I have made the point elsewhere that it is not about borrowing, it is ability to pay back. No investor, no funder, no funding agency, no bank, no institution on earth will loan money to an institution or an individual or a country that is clearly unable to pay or keep its debt obligations. No country does that. That they are even ready to give loans to Nigeria presupposes and already is an indication that Nigeria has ability to pay back and that Nigeria is enjoying the confidence and trust of those institutions, those financial institutions, whether it is IMF or the banks or other countries that are ready to give loans to Nigeria, China or other such people. Any person ready to give loans to Nigeria has discovered that Nigeria has capacity to pay and has credibility to also pay. That Nigeria is not a dubious country or run by frivolous people or by a careless leadership. It means that the leadership is responsible enough to accept it. I don't know whether even at the personal level, you can give loan to a neighbor who is constantly coming back drunk and the next morning is asking for a loan to go to work. Who will borrow money to such a person? So also it is with nations. Nobody is going to give a nation money that spends its money on individuals or its officials in a fleet of cars in luxurious life and who have no infrastructure to show for the other loans already collected. That other people are ready to give those loans presupposes that Nigeria has been responsible in its physical execution of its financial obligations to its citizens. And that can be seen in practical terms in the Calabar Lagos Coastal Road, in the Badagry Sokoto road and the railway infrastructure and the student loan funds that are already in execution and are already going on across the country. These are verifiable facts. These are verifiable projects and policies. Only last week, Friday, the federal government released 300 billion to universities of agriculture to improve on agricultural research and production in the universities, because those are the bastions upon which any country's own wealth is dependent upon. That is the universities. 300 billion was released, not that it was promised. It was released already to universities of agriculture. That tells you that the government is focusing on agriculture in the country. So to tell you that they are going to get out of 47 trillion, that 34 of that amount, 34 trillion of that amount is going to be internally generated, it's a amount of confidence. And that's why the tax reforms must come on board. And that's why we must praise the National Assembly and urge them and other Nigerian experts to come out and not to support it, but to show all the gray areas so that they will be corrected and the tax net will immediately be set up to avoid the medium and small scale business enterprises from going down, because they form over 80% of Nigeria's economy, the informal sector of Nigerian economy. Over 80% of them are in the medium and small scale, which are going to be out of the tax net. And those who are living on luxury and on luxury goods and imported goods will have to pay more of the taxes. There are corporate institutions that whose taxes, if paid, can become so much. You can see presently that with the digitalization of Nigeria's collectible taxes, places and institutions and organizations like customs, like immigration, and other such people have increased their revenue rating in a manner that has never occurred before. So there's more transparency, there's less human interference, and therefore there is more revenue for disposal to the Nigerian people, so that.
Well, Honorable Cletus, let's just quickly move on to another issue here in the news, away from the 2025 appropriation bill passed to the National Assembly by the President. Here in the FCT, the Minister of the FCT, Barrister Nyesom Wike, had allegedly recently revoked land titles belonging to a foundation owned by former President Muhammadu Buhari, as well as a land title belonging to Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, the SGF, George Akume, as well as other high-ranking Nigerians within the FCT. Now, remember the last time we spoke about these revocations, there were some pertinent key issues that you raised. What's your reaction to this revocation of such magnitude within the Federal Capital Territory? Well, it appears Honorable is still off the line again, but we'll hope to reconnect with him again in just a short while. But meanwhile, let me just refresh your minds on where these revocations took place. Let's pick up the Blueprint newspaper and go back to it now. On the Blueprint newspaper, just before we have Honorable come back. Hello, Honorable.
Good morning. Sorry, I'm in transit between Ikom and Buki, and therefore the forest and the trees here are obstructing with the Harmattan haze.
That's all right. That's all right. We have just about 7 minutes to wrap up the conversation, but I wanted to get your reaction on the recent revocation of Buhari Foundation, Abbas, Akume, and Onogen's land titles within the FCT. Now, this is a revocation of a huge magnitude. The last time you were here on the program, we talked about the land revocations made by the Minister of the FCT, and you shared quite some pertinent thoughts. Now, do you care to let us in on your thoughts concerning this recent one?
Well, I am not going to get carried away because high-profile and politically exposed people are involved. Because I'm aware that the method of indiscriminate destruction of property is not in any way economically sustainable. But I will not also support a situation in which people build on the right of way, on drainages, and other such unauthorized places, playgrounds and green areas. If that is what is the situation, fine and good, I'll go with the minister. But if it is on account of not developing the place, too many places in Abuja are not developed, and to start revocation is not part of it. If it is improperly done, you ask them to go and get those papers reproduced. But I will not support a situation in which somebody raises a building genuinely just because he has not paid the required fees. You go with bulldozer to pull it down. Only recently along Airport Road, I got to know that a retired general had his house brought down by people who the minister said he did not send to do so. If a man has not paid enough or all of his fees as required, what you do is to do a temporary blockade of the house and not to bring it down. Unless you have evidence to show. But this one, like I said, is a retired general of the Nigerian Army. And he struggled with his pension and gratuity to build a house where he can retire to. And you take bulldozer there and bring it down in a residential area. Whatever is the offense, the first thing to do is not to bring down the house. If he didn't build it according to plan, you demand it to be so done. And there are structural engineers that will come back and restructure the house to get it done. There are building engineers to do that. The first thing to do is not to bring it down with a bag of cement going for almost 10,000. It is wrong. It is vicious. It doesn't have a human face. So the destruction of houses, unless they are completely unauthorized and people do not have rights up to that place, but where people have evidence to show that they have the rights to that place, revocation, fine. It is to allow time for the people to go back and sort out the documentation of those lands and those properties. But to go and destroy houses is wrong.
Now, again, as usual, there are still critics on the sideline of persons who have critically analyzed this scenario and have claimed that maybe it's just a charade by the Minister of the FCT to show that if these high-profile Nigerians could have their land titles revoked, then how much more ordinary Nigerians whose land titles have been revoked or will possibly be revoked in the coming days or weeks or months within the FCT. Again, I ask, is this a proper line of thought?
This is my take on this. That if a man's title is improperly acquired, you ask him to go back and redo it and not to seize it and hand it to the next person. Because the next one is going to go through the process of validation, of proper registration with ages, the Abuja information geographic systems. If you have discovered that the papers are improperly filed or the documentation is faulty, you ask him to go back and do it with a fine to show that he didn't do it properly, but to revoke it and then hand it, in some cases, to cronies and proxies is what will be terribly wrong. And that, again, will not be supported, and that should be resisted. But where people outrightly go into prohibited areas, areas that are excluded from buildings, places that are drainages, as is happening in Trademore area, where every year you have water crisis, flooding crisis, then the Minister of FCT has a duty to protect lives and property by insisting that such places should be cleared. But where lands are just revoked with the sole intention, the sinister intention, the secret intention to hand them over to proxies and cronies, is totally wrong, will be unacceptable. And I think the law will take its course.
Now, tensions are rising as affected parties within the FCT, due to the demolitions, have decried some sort of witch hunting by Barrister Nyesom Wike, and also by the APC-led administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, citing that he is seeing what the FCT minister is doing, yet he's not calling him to order. Are there sacred cows within Nigeria that cannot be touched, but now are being touched due to the fact that they are not part of the ruling party?
What is wrong is wrong. Crime has no expiry date. If you want to build a house in a green area, in a prohibited area, in a non-residential area, and you go to build a residential building in that place, and over time, because your allies have been in government, then the time will always be up to catch up with you, no matter the timeline within which you have done so. So it is not a matter of untouchables and people being forced on account of party affiliation or about people having their friends in power. It is about whether what you did was right or wrong. Once it is wrong, it is a matter of time for you to be arrested. Even the common criminals on the street, the armed robbers and others, they escape the hands of the law. So if Osama bin Laden started his behavior with George Bush the senior, and then through George Bush Jr., and then up to Osama bin Laden, up to Obama, and then he is caught, will you say that Obama went to after Osama because he was a Democrat, and that it is Republicans that have been tolerating him. What that simply tells you is that the Republicans gave a chase and identified him while the Democrats came and executed the arrest and demolition of Osama bin Laden. So it is with our criminals here, if you put it as parallel. That means you acquired land illegally and people were afraid of doing so. So if a man comes in who has the courage to deal with it, like you have the oil subsidy, right from the Babangida years of 1985, everybody has been talking about oil subsidy. Students have gone rioting on account of oil subsidy. So when it took a man of courage, even Buhari came out and said, by June 2023, I will take away June. He was postponing it for him to do his election. And the man comes and says, I don't care about the elections, let Nigeria survive and take away oil subsidy. That is fine. Will you say oil subsidy was untouchable? It was not untouchable. It is that people have the courage to take decisions. And I have said it clearly, that leadership is strong and firm and fair all the time to take decisions, not out of fear and never to fear to take decisions. A leader must not fear to take decisions and he must not take a decision out of fear. So this is the non-trait upon which every leader must operate. And I think that UK has demonstrated the courage to go after these people who have been doing so once the country is knowledge. But when overbears and overreaches the situation in which he now grabs for his friends and colleagues, as we heard in the case of one Chinda, and for one other colonel who retired and his family is now being affected. I think on compassionate grounds, those kind of cases should be treated as exceptions to the rule. All rules on earth have exceptions. All rules have exceptions. So we must not get involved in a situation where you find people constantly engaged in, even in there is strata and stratification. We cannot deny that, but we should not do so overtly to the disadvantaged majority, which democracy seeks to protect the weak and the vulnerable. In this enterprise, is doing well to go after those who drag land in wrong places and were doing the wrong things would have the right papers. But I do not support demolition of houses. On the contrary, those houses can be taken over by government and given out. There are estates that are used. These are places I want him to get into. There are more estates that are unoccupied in Abuja than occupied estates. Look at the 753 that were discovered. Who is living there?
It's a completely empty estate.
This is what we're saying. People have land saying one man and coming to work in National Secretariat, and then they torture themselves from Masaka Maraba, from Kubwa, from Wakwalada to come to work when they are estate within the capital and nobody is doing. Government should appropriate those things. Should seize those lands and turn them to government property and give them to civil servants and those who are looking for places and those roaming the streets are working for this country. Those are the things that we want to see happen.
Honorable Cletus, we will have to keep you here for just a little while more. But I want us to turn our attention to another issue in the news as we take them one after the other. Away from the issue of land title revocations within the FCT, let's cross over to Edo State, where the governor, Senator Monday Okwebolo, had suspended, some local government council chairmen and their vice chairman within the state, citing insubordination as reason for these suspensions. Now, the governor said that they had failed to submit their financial reports from September 23rd, 2022 to date as directed by him when he assumed office. Firstly, I want to get your reaction to the suspension, and then I will get your reaction to a statement made by the federal government with regards to this issue.
Well, on local government, I'm an advocate of autonomy for local government, but that autonomy is not absolute. Even if it don't have autonomy to loan and to do things on federal land and everything without regard to the law establishing them. Now, the local government under Section 7 of the Nigerian Constitution are to be controlled, regulated financially and otherwise an administration by the state houses of assembly. What that means is that whatever law the state assembly establishes, as long as it does not conflict with certain sections of the Nigerian Constitution, are binding on them. I'm aware that some states have laws in which the appropriation law of local government is submitted to the state assembly, in which appointments by the local government are brought to him. So that autonomy is limited by that fact. So when he says that when the governor of Edo State comes out to say insubordination, is it that the law establishing the Edo State local government system requires that they should report to him? If not, the disciplinary powers lie with the state assembly, which makes the law. Because most of those laws are to be effected by the councils. So if you can suspend the local government, then you will need the councils to be involved in the process. Otherwise, the law has to be looked into. I don't know the specifics of the law in those states that compose local government. If the law does not specifically demand a particular action to be taken, such as submitting certain documents to the chief governor, which I doubt, then clearly that is an aberration. That level of suspension is arbitrary and unconstitutional. And will not conform with the law establishing local government system in Edo State.
Now, the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Prince Lateef Fagbemi, has also said that the suspension of this local government chairman and their vice chairman is illegal and unconstitutional. This is also re-echoed by the statement made by the chairman and vice chairman of these 18 local government areas that they will remain in office till their tenure elapses in 2026. With these statements coming in from the AGF and the statements also coming in from the suspended chairman and vice chairman themselves, do you see some sort of trouble brewing in Edo State at the moment?
There will be no trouble because I am very sure that there is a political solution to this. We are not playing it. We are not in a where chemicals react according to that are induced to them. We are here in a political situation in which all settlements can be on the table, not on the war front. All wars, even physical wars, are settled on the table. Today, negotiations are going on between the Hamas leaders and Israel. We are seeing discussions almost starting between Ukraine and Russia. So all wars normally will end on the table. So I see this one as an attempt to shake the table, coming in just now, and excitement and the enthusiasm for the governor must have come in without proper advice to those decisions. I'm sure that the federal government is very serious and vehement about the autonomy of local governments. And so it is not going to be business as usual. That it is an APC state, and that is where democracy is in action. And that is why this president must be commended, with his team, especially from the legal department headed by the General and Commissioner Minister for Justice. That decision and those pronouncements show that there is no lip service to the issue of local government autonomy, which the president believes is housing and keeping the greater majority of Nigerians who live in the rural areas, and local government is to impact on them. So their autonomy, granting them autonomy, is a way of reaching out to the over 70% of our people that live in the rural area. So I think it's a step in the right direction, and governors must take a cue. And Nigerians must commend APC federal government for starting with its own state, Edo State, which is an APC state. If it was a PDP state now, everybody will stand up to start reading political and partisan interpretations into it. But see that Attorney General, he's not keeping quiet just simply because it's an APC state. So clearly, I see democracy in action, expansion of our democratic force, and seeing us making so much progress that APC is truly a progressive party bent on the welfare of the people according to its manifesto, and living up to the manifesto, and restoring to Nigeria and to the systems of government that we all about and took our pledges and oath to sustain and to protect the Constitution and the rule of law.
Now, the big question on the table is as to the reason why the governor had asked this local government chairman to submit their statement of accounts to him from 2022 up until date. Is this as a means of asset declaration by the local government chairman, and are they mandated to do so?
Just a moment, please. Just like states are subnational, so are local government part of the state. If the law, I maintain that I have not read the local government law. I have not read the local government law, and so I will not know if that is a mandate from the local government law of Edo State. If it is, they have no choice but to submit it. What does it take anyway? For the sake of accountability, to submit those papers, unless they have something to hide, to protect. Otherwise, those are public documents. Under the Freedom of Information Bill, if you come by that way, even as governor or any citizen for that matter, can make that same demand and get it under our Freedom of Information Bill. Those are not classified documents by any means. Budget and accounting documents are public documents. So I'm not aware that there is anything wrong there. It is only target. I don't know which means it makes the demand, and then going too far to suspend them on account of that, for me, is overreaching.
What should we be expecting if, with the interference of the Attorney General of the Federation now in Edo State, in your last takes with regards to this recent suspension of local government council chairman and the vice chairman?
Come again, please.
Well, what should we be expecting in Edo State in the coming days, or maybe come next year, with the intervention or involvement of the AGF in the matter at the moment?
No, the intervention is what I call political resolution of the matter. Clearly, there is no way. The House of Assembly that makes that law would definitely put a caveat and put clauses in that constitution that will require that the House of Assembly will demand to know, and that the state government can't use that and bring it. It can still suspend them in the House of Assembly or their councillors. They can still be suspended, but it should not come as an executive directive, an executive order, asking them to go on suspension. It cannot come so under democracy. I don't see that being possible. So I say political resolution of the crisis, scheduling the intervention and the interest shown by the federal government of APC through the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation. I see a resolution that may not even get us into legal battles. There will be no legal bringbacks at this stage. I see a political resolution of the crisis in which the governor will have to still get what he wants from the local government in terms of looking into the books. That cannot be escapable because it is mandatory that they should make these things available. It is in the local government law, it is in our constitution for them to bring their books when they are needed by any member of the public who wants to look into the books of the local government. Anybody can get a court order and do that under the Freedom of Information Bill. If they demand it and it's not given, they can go to court and get the court to order them to bring those same papers. So I don't see any big crisis there. The dramatization is out of hand, and it's too early for our friend and our governor to get himself distracted by the books of local government. I know that so much things took place there. It is in such a huge quantum that the demand for them is not in vain, and it is not in any way entirely. It is not intended to witch hunt anybody, but to ensure that those state funds are properly utilized. And that is what I want to see, rather than bringing in EFCC, bringing in ICPC, and those agencies are still waiting there. In case within the state there's no internal way of checking it, ICPC and the IFCC will still come in there and insist on that.
Well, quite a beautiful point you have raised there, Honorable Cletus. In Ibadan recently, a tragedy occurred where reports say that at a children's fun fair, about 35 to 40 children have been confirmed dead due to a stampede that occurred while trying to get the palliatives being shared by the Oni of Ife's ex-wife, Queen Naomi, there in Ibadan. Firstly, your reaction to this quite tragic incident before we move on to different angles within the news.
Well, it is very unfortunate. My sympathy goes and condolences go to the families that lost their loved ones. It is a human tragedy that you cannot pinpoint. I think the crowd management and excitement, and I hear it was children, clearly it is unfortunate. And there's very little everybody can do about it, but we need also now to know and put in place those strategies that can avoid and should avoid this level of damage, this level of death, this level of carnage that occurs at a season like this. And this is again the contradiction in Nigeria. Here we are saying that Nigerians are dying of hunger. And here we are having this number of people in one place to do fun fair at a season like this. This has happened in the National Assembly, or children of the ministers are the ones involved in this. Everybody will be happy in Nigeria. Our sense of tragedy is that we just politicize everything. Should children be gathering at a place like this without adult presence to control them? How did we get to this point? And that again calls to question these are public places. There must be sufficient protection of children or anybody for that matter, even adults, gathered in one place at this season. Because explosions and other people are in a terrible mood, and we are getting into this. So I think that and public places of that nature should have enough protection from security agencies, and they should be informed. You'll be shocked that police, civil defense, and even other private security agencies were not involved in that exercise, and nobody took it serious. Until now that it has happened, we now know that in putting children in that kind of position, they should be protection and they should be protected by the police and other security agencies, or such level of adult presence to control children should occur. I don't know the nature of it, but clearly it is tragic and it is a bad omen for the people of Ibadan. My sympathy goes to them.
Well, it is quite tragic. However, from a different point of view, doesn't this sort of shed a bad light with regards to the economic woes that we are currently facing as a country and the food insecurity that we continue to see as a nation? That people now stampede at places or anywhere that the idea or the notion of food or food sharing is being talked about. How bad does this paint us?
No. I think is this the first Christmas we're spending? We're having the Calabar Carnival here. If you go there, people are going to go there. Would you say that they went there because they are hungry? Calabar Carnival has been here since 1999. From the Revoked 2001. The Calabar Carnival was there. People have been attending, coming from all over the world to attend it. So if anything happens there now, last time it was a power bike accident that occurred there. Was it because people were hungry?
But the Calabar Carnival accident that took place was a motorbike accident. It had nothing to do with people going to collect palliatives. Now, the stampede happened due to rush. These children, including adults who were at the venue, were rushing to be the first to get hold of the palliative items being shared by Queen Naomi. Now again, I ask, is this shedding a bad light on how bad our economy is, especially with regards to the poverty and hunger in Nigeria?
Please, I'm aware. This is the point I'm making. We are dramatizing these issues and making this entire matter look even very jocular. I'm asking you, is there any Christmas, any Salah that people don't share gift items to people in the neighborhood? I know for a fact that this Zoom, the president governor of Borno State, almost every Christmas provides buses and provides for Christians in the metropolis. So the process of going to collect it, when they get into a stampede, we look at tankers. A tanker drops and petroleum products, PMS is pouring out. Rather people run away from it, they go there to go and scoop it. Is it because they are hungry? And then they get burnt. Not once, not twice. Even when they read and see on TV how others get burnt, the very next one that people go there, is it hunger? People are just being not careless. Somebody falls, there's an accident on the road. Instead of people going to help people go out, they are videoing it to go and put on social media. Is that also because they are hungry? I think we will need a total reorientation of our country. So what is happening is not because they were saying palliative, because we were impatient. Look at the road up to and on the road. Somebody is in a terrible hurry to pass, and in the process, there's a grid law. Not because the road is not good, but because everybody wants to pass at the same time. Is it because they are hungry? It is because they are simply impatient and simply disciplined.
So, you are citing impatience. Honorable, you are citing impatience and indiscipline rather than hunger as the major cause of this stampede that claimed the lives of over 40 children.
This is the point I'm making. I'm giving the example of petrol tanker pollution that brings about people being born who go to school first. Are they sharing palliative? Is that palliative? If dangerous one thing like that is coming out and people rather than running away to see how to salvage themselves, they go and stay in the middle of it to school it. And that happens time after time. Are you saying they are not aware that they will get burnt? And will you also put it to hunger? These are the issues we should be discussing. I think and like I said, somebody is dying from an accident and bleeding. Rather than taking him to the nearest facility, what you see is people doing the videoing and in the society that there's accident here, people are dying, who is the cause? And you want us to dramatize that? So I think that there is too much indiscipline. Yeah, there is hunger. That does not in any way take away the fact that the economic reforms presently are giving people hard times. But that should not push anybody to want to die because you must survive by collecting palliatives at the same time and jumping on another human being. A simple matter of that nature, even when you say stay on the queue, there's enough for everybody. People want to grab it first. I'm asking you, people who go to scoop well, are they going there because they are hungry? And even when they know they will die and they have seen it happen only the previous day, and they still go to jump into fuel tanker to scoop fuel, is it because they are hungry? It's a tragic mentality of thinking that we can get away with cheap things.
Well, Honorable, still in line with the issue of hunger in the land, there is a report that currently during the Yuletide season now this is on the front cover of the Guardian newspaper, a story of how inflation stole Christmas for many Nigerians. This is off the back of one chicken in the country being sold at about 25 to 30,000 naira, and for turkey, a staggering 130,000 naira. This used to be monies that people used to buy goats, rams, and cows with. And now you can only barely get chicken or turkey with these monies. Again, is the economy in Nigeria a favorable one? And do you think that the administration of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is on the right track with all of these reforms that he continues to boast will yield positive results in no distant time? Is the economy surviving in line with all of this?
The truth of the matter is that the reforms are bound to generate these same reactions we are talking about, and they are temporal. The short-term effects of these reforms is definitely what we are experiencing. They are inescapable, they are inevitable. But is it that we should wait for another time, postpone the evil day, or we should take the action and suffer it once and for all? Nobody has denied that they are suffering. Anybody who says we not living in the
yeah.
Most often also.
Yeah, carry on, Honorable. I'm with you. Yes.
For instance, the price of car was 1,400, 1,500 at the point. Now in Abuja, when people are there, in income here, you are selling for 1,150 naira, 1,100 naira. In Abuja, it is 1,070 naira, 1,060 naira in some places. In some places, NNPC filling stations. Yeah, even the same NNPC in this income in the Boja, in Budu. It's going for 1,300, 1,400 in the same Nigeria and at closer range to the tank farm in Taraba. So the closer you are to oil, the more expensive it is. What kind of paradox is that? As I speak to you on Monday, to come from Calabar to Boja to Budu was 12,000 naira. As I speak to you now, it is 20,000. And the fuel price has not changed. The pump price of fuel has not changed. What is accountable for that? So the high demand of people rushing home is now taken advantage of by motorists. Commuters are now made to pay double of what they are supposed to get. More than 70-80% increase in the price of transport fare, which happens every December.
But I just want you to react to this statement of, one chicken being 30,000 naira and one turkey being 130,000 naira. Now, on a lighter note, we all know that Christmas is usually synonymous with rice and chicken. Now, a bag of rice is far above the minimum wage in the country, and ordinary Nigerians can barely afford a bag of rice to even complement it with the chicken that is usually synonymous with Christmas. In clear terms, has inflation robbed Nigerians of Christmas?
Let me say this to you. Nigerians are learning no lesson. Nigerians are learning no lesson, and they are not ready to back down. When they banded those figures, I don't know from which market. I am talking to you from customer. From the customer perspective, I'll be in Abuja later today or early tomorrow. But as I speak to you now, in customer, a bushel of rice, which is the equivalent of 25 kg, is 33,000. Two of that is 50 kg. That gives you 66,000. As I speak to you now, today, the 20th of December, 5 days to Christmas. That is the price now, and that rice is produced. When they rebag it and begin to trade with it, and the transportation is in that manner, it is a transport that now builds into it. So if you buy it here yourself and carry it into a vehicle, before you take it to your destination, you are dealing with about 40,000. Now, these are the realistic things. The chicken we are talking about. If you get between here and Bandikia, which is the next town of Benue State, the chicken we are talking about, which chicken are you? It's not the one that is in the supermarket, so you must pay for it and pay VAT. But if you go to the local market here, will a chicken be sold for 30,000? Is that chicken a ram? I don't know which market and which people are giving these statistics. If you stay in a and start going to Spa or start going to what do you call it, the big supermarket and buy your thing, and then use that to extrapolate that the people in Nyanya market, the people in Maraba market, the people in the Bush market in Kefi are buying one chicken for 30,000. How many people will ever buy the lab of the chicken? So I think that we should not be using a few persons who are living on expectation to join Nigeria. It is not true. It is not true. I'm talking to you from Cross River. It is not true from our perspective here. There is no chicken that is even 20,000. None.
Is this perhaps a reality just within the FCT or maybe in Lagos, yes, big bustling cities?
But I'm not telling us those stories. I am talking to you. I'm talking from Cross River. I'm giving you the price of things as for today. A basin of garlic is not up to 40,000. A basin of garlic is 25 kg. Is it the same price? Are we talking about that? That's what we are discussing. But now the committers and the transporters want to see you with a tuber of yam. A tuber of yam that you buy for 200-300 naira here, you start paying 1,000 to take it to Abuja. You start paying 2,000 and start telling me that the tuber of yam is 5,000.
Well, Honorable Cletus, in closing, just your final thoughts, a recap of the inflation situation in the country, just in 30 seconds before we wrap up.
Hello?
Well, did you get my question, Honorable? Your final thoughts in just 30 seconds as we wrap up this conversation.
Okay, the inflation rate is going to drop. At a season like this, inflation is always very possible and possible to account for. Of course, simple economics, classic economics, therefore economics will teach you that the higher the demand, the higher the price. The lesser the supply, the higher the price. So at the time like this, the demand of things is going to go up, and therefore you expect that prices will escalate beyond the ordinary. That again, like I said, January prices will start dropping again because expendable or disposable income will also lower. So to that extent, you will not be having any surprises at all. The inflation rate that the president has pointed out will drop to double digits, but not as high as we have today. as about 24% of rate of inflation. So I think that the impact and the policy will ensure that inflation will definitely fall down in the quarter of 2025.
Well, Honorable Cletus Obun, I must thank you so much. It's been a very robust conversation with you here on Morning Express. Thank you, and compliments of the season from all of us here at ADBN.
Thank you very much, and may Nigeria remain blessed.
Thank you. Well, that has been Honorable Cletus Obun calling in from Cross River State. Honorable Cletus is a regular